Hey everybody, Rob here at etrailer.Com, and today we're going to be taking a look at the etrailer Class 3 custom fit trailer hitch receiver on our 2014 Toyota Highlander. Now if you stick around to the end of the video, we are going to show you how to get it installed, but we know that everybody wants to know what it's going to look like and go over some of the features first. So here's what our hitch is going to look like once we have it installed. The cross tube is going to sit right below the bumper, but the one thing I really like about the etrailer hitches is that it has that carbide, almost a flat black finish to it. So even though it is visible, you can see it blends in with the bottom black plastic really well, and it's not that noticeable. Now it is going to offer us a 2" by 2" receiver tube opening, so it is going to give us the widest variety when it comes to accessories. Everybody knows you can tow a trailer with a trailer hitch, put a ball mount in there, be pretty easy to hook up, but if we want to take a trip with some friends, maybe hit the trails, we can put a bike rack in here and take some bikes with us. Or if we're going on a long road trip and we need as much room as possible on the inside of our Highlander, we can put a cargo carrier back here and move some of that gear to the outside. But regardless of how you're going to be using your hitch, all the accessories are going to mount to the hitch pin hole here on the side. And the hitch is going to accept a standard 5/8 pin and clip. Now these aren't going to come with the hitch, but you can find them here at etrailer.com, along with some locking devices to make sure your accessories are secure in the receiver tube, and anti-rattle devices to cut down that annoying rattling sound we hear from the receiver tube while we're driving down the road. Now if you are going to be towing a trailer, obviously you need somewhere to hook up your safety chains. Now if you have most normal size hooks like we have here, you can see we got plenty of room to get them hooked on. You may want to come from the front side because there is quite a thick flange here on the side of it, and we really won't be able to get them rotated into the locked position, but we can get them hooked on, take them off fairly easily. And even with those large oversized hooks, got plenty of room to get them fully engaged and make sure that spring closes. Now if you're looking for a hitch, obviously you have something in mind you want to do, so the capacity is pretty important. Our etrailer hitch is going to have a 900-pound tongue weight. It's going to be the maximum downward force at the end of the receiver tube. Now 900 pounds is quite a bit. We're really going to be able to maximize the carrying capacity of those large cargo carriers and possibly even take 5-6 bikes with us in a bike rack. Now at the same time, our hitch is also going to have a 6,000-pound gross trailer weight rating. Now that's how much the hitch can pull, but that does include the trailer and the load we have on it. Now it is designed to work with weight distribution systems as well. That's going to keep the tongue weight right at that 900 pounds, but it is going to bump the gross trailer weight rating up to 8,000 pounds. Now I do want to recommend that you double check your Highlander's owner's manual, because those are the ratings for our hitch and we do not want to exceed the manufacturer's rating for our Highlander. Now I'd like to give you a few measurements, and these are going to help you out whenever you're looking for accessories for your new hitch, like a ball mount, a bike rack, or even a cargo carrier. From the center of the hitch pin hole to the outermost edge of the bumper, it's going to be right about 2.5 inches. Now that measurement is going to help you when you're looking at folding accessories to make sure you have enough room to put them in the upright stored position, and they're not going to come in contact with the rear bumper. Now from the ground to the inside top edge of the receiver tube opening, it's going to be right about 16.5 inches. Now that measurement is going to help you when you're looking for a ball mount, so you can make sure you find the appropriate rise or drop to match up to your trailer. But now that we've seen what our hitch looks like and gone over some of the features, let's go through the installation process together so you can have the confidence to do it at home. To begin our installation, we're going to come to the very back of our Highlander, and we're going to come underneath the driver's side, and we're going to find a panel that's going to be covering up the bottom of the frame here. We need to pull this panel out, and if we look around the edge, we're going to have several fasteners holding it in. We'll have a few bolts that are holding it in, as well as a few push pins. So we're going to grab a 10mm socket. We're going to pull all the bolts out. Once you have all the bolts out, we can move to the push pins. And if we look closely, there's a couple little notches that are going around it. We're going to grab a flat blade screwdriver, bring it into that notch, and we're going to pry out the center section first. Make sure it actually pops out of there. And then I'll take off the tension from the push pin and allow us to come underneath the base and pull the rest of it out. We're going to have one here at the corner, and then at the very back we're going to have another one. So we'll pull both of those out. And then if we come in between the spare tire and the panel itself, kind of up high at the top of the panel, there's a couple plastic retaining nuts that are holding the panel in place. So you want to grab a 12mm socket to loosen those up. Now most likely when you go to loosen these nuts up, they're not actually going to come off the panel. So what I like to do is loosen them while I'm pulling down on the panel so it'll actually come loose. Now there is going to be two of them, one towards the front of our Highlander and then one towards the back. So once we have those loose, we'll work the panel out. And we'll set this aside. We do have the option of reinstalling it. There will be some trimming that's needed, or we can leave it off. And we're going to have another panel over on the passenger side. It's not 100% necessary to remove it, but it will make it a lot easier. So we'll just go through, pull all the bolts and push pins out so we can pull that panel out. Now at the very front of that panel on the passenger side, we're also going to have this bracket. Now this bracket is being held in by a 17mm head bolt in the bottom of the frame. So you can grab yourself a 17mm socket and extension. And we should be able to just kind of grab the exhaust, just flex it a little bit over. So we can loosen that bolt and get the bracket out. Then if we move back to the back of the frame, we're going to have our tie-down hook. Now there's two bolts going into the bottom of the frame. And you're going to use those same 17mm head bolts. So we'll use that same socket and pull those out as well. Now if we move just back of where that tie-down hook was, we'll have this plastic air deflector. This is actually going to be in the way of getting our hitch in place because our hitch is actually going to sit right behind the bottom of the bumper here. So we can take a marker, and I'm just going to mark pretty close to the edge. We don't need to cut it all the way flush with it, but we want to get it pretty close. And we're going to be trimming all of this material off. So just want to make a clean, straight cut. And you can use just about whatever you have to cut this, even if it's just a pair of tin snaps, a razor knife making several passes, or you can use a rotary tool like I'm going to do, and just make a quick, clean cut. And now that the main section is removed, we can always come back with a file or something and just kind of clean up the excess plastic and give it a nice smooth edge. Now on the bottom of each frame rail, we're going to have a few plastic and rubber plugs. We want to go ahead and pull all these out. Now the ones that have the little notch in there, those will actually unthread. You just get a flat blade screwdriver. And typically you can just twist them out. It's got little tabs in there. Pull those out, and then the rubber ones, you just want to come underneath, pull it out with a screwdriver. And we're going to have the same plugs on both sides of the frame. You want to pull all of these out on both sides. We don't need to worry about the side of the frame. We're just worrying about the bottom and all the coverings that are in there. Now with an extra set of hands, we're going to lift our hitch up. Kind of want to go over the exhaust on the passenger side. Then we'll lift our hitch so the holes line up on the bottom of the frame. Take our new bolt with the conical tooth washer, go through the hitch. You want to get at least one bolt in on each side so the hitch will hold itself up, and we can work on getting the rest of the hardware in place. Then we'll come back with a 19mm socket, or you can use a 3/4 inch socket, and we're going to tighten up all of the hardware. You're going to make sure you come back with a torque wrench. We're going to torque all of our hardware down to the specified amount in the instructions. You're going to make sure you go back and repeat that for all of your remaining hardware. Then we can work our passenger side panel back in place. Not going to have to do any kind of trimming over here. Just line out the holes, and we can start replacing the fasteners. For our driver's side panel, I went ahead and marked out the area it needs to be trimmed. And fortunately, we can kind of use the ribs as a guide. So right where that opening is, if we come right down the center and we go towards the curved section, just want to run it right along that lip here. We want to save that mounting point, so just right along the edge, come up to this other rib here, and we're going to be taking out this entire section here. Now towards the front of the car, we're going to take out this little corner piece, kind of wraps around so that the back of the hitch has place to fit in as well. Again, you can use just about whatever you have available. Just keep in mind that these are a guideline in the instructions, so what I like to do is trim a little bit as possible, test fit it, and then trim as needed, because once we cut the material, we can't put it back. So what I usually like to do once I have my panel trimmed is those two retaining nuts. We'll line those up first. And then once you have them lined up on the studs, typically what you can do is we'll just push up on our panel and that'll kind of get it locked in place. And then we can start working it in so the holes line up and we get all those fasteners back in place. So make sure the panel is sitting in the correct spot. Again, we'll get all those mounting holes lined up and start replacing the fasteners. When it comes to these push pins, you want to leave the center section sticking out. Push the base in first, make sure it goes through both panels, and then lock it down by pressing in the center section. But once you have both panels back in place, that'll finish up your installation and your look at the eTrailer Class 3 custom fit trailer hitch receiver on our 2014 Toyota Highlander.